Hi guys, Jordan from PMP Campers. Just going to be doing a handover video on this Rimor Evo. It's an Evo 66P and it is based on the 2020 Ford Transit chassis. So what I'll do is I'll show you through under the bonnet and then I'll work my way all the way around the outside and then we'll jump inside and show you what's going on in there as well. So under the bonnet, it's quite a high up bonnet to be fair. On these Transits they tend to be. So on the left hand side we've got your washer fluid with the blue cap on the top, brake fluid towards the back there attached to the servo. You've got what is technically an extender for the engine oil filling point. So if you want to fill up your engine oil, you do so from there. You've got your engine oil dipstick, which is this yellow one down here, as you can see. Air filter sits inside this box at the top, so it's literally just these little clips here all the way around to get to the air filter. Over on the right we've got your engine coolant, so you can see there just at the right level where it's actually cold at the moment, so that's at the perfect level there. And the only other thing to point out under the bonnet really is that you've got a positive terminal under this little cap here, if I can get it open. There we go. Positive terminal there, and it will show you somewhere on the van, there you go, that your earthing point needs to be this little engine hoist here. So, well, technically it doesn't need to be, but that's Ford's way of saying that that's a decent earth just there for you to jump start the van. So that's the point of having this positive terminal here. If you wanted to jump start the van, you've got a positive terminal there, and your earthing point or your negative is this one just here. So just drop that little cap, I'll get that after the video. I'll get it now, I can reach it. The idea behind Ford fitting this part is that you don't have to get under the driver's seat to the battery in order to jump start it. So if you're in a bit of trouble and you need to jump start the van quickly, you can do that from there. So as I just said, the driver's or the engine battery sits under the driver's seat. So if you ever needed to get to that, it is physically underneath the driver's seat over there. Just inside the passenger door here, we've got your diesel filling point, and below that, we've got your AdBlue filling point there as well. On these Fords, the diesel filling point, you can literally just push it straight into it, so you don't take it out or anything like that. You do have to have the door open in order to fill this up, because it will not open with the door shut because of this little tab. And inside the passenger door here as well, you've got your chassis plate and your weights all in there. Right, so further towards the back, we've got a wet locker just down here, which is a nice handy little locker to have. I haven't opened it up because it's just not particularly interesting, it's just a wet locker. So your freshwater filling point is this one just here. Okay, so it's behind this nice little cover, so it is sort of nice and neatly onto one side, but that is where you would fill up your freshwater tank. You've got another one of these things here, which is basically just another cover, but this is for your electric hookup. As you can see, it's plugged in at the moment. Below that, we've got your gas locker. So the gas locker at the moment is literally just got this one bottle in it. All right, this is a propane 6 kilo bottle. You can have 13 kilo propane bottles in here if you want to, because that is the size that this locker is made for. But it's up to you really, it's just more expensive. But there you go, so that is your gas locker there. Only thing I need to tell you about the gas locker is, well, two things. Make sure that you turn the gas off before you start driving, that's really important. And make sure that you know which way to turn it on and off. So anti-clockwise around to the left will turn the bottle on, and then clockwise all the way down to the right will turn the bottle off. To the right of the gas locker, we have got the toilet cassette locker. So this is a Thetford toilet cassette, nice modern one. So to remove the actual cassette itself, we've got a little blue tab just down here. I'm going to lift this up, and then I can pull the cassette out towards me. So, really simple from there. Once you got to this point here, you can take it all the way out. Okay, that is now completely loose. But all you need to know from there really is that you twist this open and empty it from here. So that is your draining point. And when you're physically draining it out, you need to hold down the little blue button there at the back. Once you've emptied it out and you're thinking about putting it back in, you need to put about a cap's worth of your blue fluid back inside here, and then give it a little swish around and push it all the way back in. Until you hear that little click there, that means it's completely locked in position and you're good to go. So, further towards the back, we have got your boiler vent. So at the moment, you can probably hear, I've got the boiler on and it is chucking out some serious heat and condensation is forming underneath it. So those things are just basically telling me that this is working perfectly. Now, it is a really cold day today, so it is forming a lot more condensation than it normally would. That's totally normal. The warmer the day, the less condensation you'll get. That's just, you already know that. But so don't worry about there being any water coming out of this vent. That is perfectly normal. But yeah, so this is another way that you can double check that the boiler is definitely working properly. It's just by coming out here and just putting your hand there for a second, just to feel that it's pumping out hot air. I mean, to be fair, you can hear it, but I always, even if I'm doing a habitation check, I've been doing it a long time now, but I even come around and do that just to double check that it's definitely pumping out hot air. So in the garage, essentially just got loads of storage really, loads of storage space, a few bits that the previous owner has left behind. So you've got some silver screens there, I think, possibly an awning there as well, but to be honest, I don't know what's in it, but it looks like an awning. You've got really handy access to the boiler itself in this little middle cupboard. So if you ever need to get to the control panel or the the PCB for it or anything like that, or more likely us that would ever need to do that sort of job, and hopefully you won't ever need to do it, but if you ever did need to, it's really good access there. So that makes a hell of a difference. When it comes to our sort of jobs, it means it's not a few hours of digging it apart and trying to get to it. It's nice and easy. So just whilst we're on this side, all the windows are looking in good condition. They all look original to me. Nice sort of dark windows, obviously you can see out of them perfectly fine, but yeah, really good condition on all those. So I'm just going to go around to the offside now and show you around there. So on the driver's door, because it's a nice modern cab, I'll tell you what I'll do is when I get in, I'll come into the cab and I'll show you around the cab, because it's a nice modern cab. But on the inside of the driver's door, we've got your tyre pressures inside there. And they tend to be slightly higher once they've been converted into a motorhome. So if you look at these pressures here, I mean, to be fair, they're probably all right, but we would normally recommend between about 60 and 70 for the motorhomes, PSI that is. So we've got obviously the habitation door just here. On the actual hab door itself, you have got a blind that comes down, and this is a fly screen that comes down from the top, the blind from the bottom. There is also a window on here that you can open. And that's about it really for the door. Your wastewater drain off point is this handle down here. So if I was to push this back in, that closes off our wastewater drain off point. And so basically when you want to drain the water out, the wastewater that is, you just pull this towards you and that'll start draining out underneath from the drain. So we've got these two vents just here, which are both to do with your fridge. So again, not really something that you would need to be doing yourself. And in fact, I would recommend that you didn't. But if you ever needed to get in there for any reason to, service it or whatever, again, more so for us, really, that's the sort of thing that we would do here. But this is the access to the back of the fridge. So your burner and everything like that will be down here on the lower one, and the fluid and stuff like that will be at the top. Next door to that, we have got an external mains socket. All right, so if you needed any external mains power, you've got that just there. Obviously, your hookup will need to be plugged in order to use that. But I'm just sort of pointing out that that's where it is. And you've got your Fiamma wind-out awning up the top here as well. Not much extra to show you in this rear locker here, to be fair, because it's all kind of the same stuff, apart from the fact that you've got the ability to move the bed up and down from here. So you will have to have the little key in there to turn it and turn it on, but you can basically raise and lower the bed to make the garage bigger or smaller. So you can see that it does actually go up, well, a decent amount, probably sort of nearly a foot really. So you've got a really good amount of space there. So yeah, there you go. So you have got a bike rack at the back. Okay, so I can't really show you that in detail because I can't get to it. But yeah, 2 bike rack with all the relevant parts to make it work. So there you go. All right, so I'm going to jump inside now, and I'll jump into the cab, as I said I would. Just shut that door behind us. Okay, so in the cab, as I said, it's a nice modern cab. I'll just squeeze my way around. So you've got all of your sort of mod cons that you might come to expect nowadays. So you've got your cruise control, which is all over here on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You can answer and decline phone calls from the steering wheel here as well if you set your phone up to it properly. You can flick through your songs and go back and all this sort of stuff on the screen up here. You have got your lights, side lights and main beam just here. And your fog lamp and your headlight aim. So you can adjust your headlight aim however you want to. So you can adjust the brightness of the dash as well, so you can change that from these 2 buttons here. And you've got your mirror adjustments from this one. Over towards the middle, you have got a really, really nice Pioneer head unit. So I've actually driven this van a few times now, and this head unit is really, really good. I think, to be completely fair, the original Ford ones aren't fantastic. So I can see why they've replaced it for this. And you can probably tell it's a really nice looking unit there as well. 6-speed manual gearbox. So obviously reverse is lift up on the little tabs here, and then you can push it over to the top left hand side to initiate reverse. And in the middle here, you've just basically got your heater controls. So you've got, you know, temperature over here, air conditioning, where you want the air to go to, and then your fan speed. Because it's a modern cab, you have also got the option all over the place. You've got some 12-volt sockets, USB points. There's another 2 of those up here, I think. Yeah, in there. This opens up to be a phone holder, I think. I'm assuming that's what it's for anyway. Oops, sorry, I wasn't actually showing that, was I? Yeah, so you can see that there. So, yeah, nice modern cab. Nowadays, you know, a lot of the time you find that you just feel that you need these things, so handy to have. Right, so I'm going to jump into the back end of the van now. So please don't worry about the mess on the floor. We have literally just done the habitation check a few days ago, so we haven't had a chance to clean it just yet. But it will be tidied up, obviously. So first thing I'm going to explain to you is that there are a couple of bits and pieces that have been added aftermarket by a previous owner. So I'm going to run you through those first before I carry on and show you the actual original factory fitted stuff. So you've got these switches just here. All right, so these are basically all of your external awning lights. So these 2 here and this one here is a strip light, an LED strip light that you've got out there as well. So all of these 3 switches here are all for your external lights just here. So you can have a little play with those and see what you think. If you like, you know, if you want to use a certain amount of them, you know, it's up to you. You've also got these 2 switches up here. Now, I think these are original, to be fair, but I will just run you through them anyway. So you've got this switch on the left-hand side, which basically turns on and off, I believe, this light under here. So let me just zoom back out. So I'm going to turn this back on, just so I can be sure that I'm not making this up. Let me turn all the lights back on first before I make a fool of myself. Right, okay, so the left-hand switch just here turns on and off the power to this light. So if I turn this, or try to turn it on here with a little touch screen, doesn't do anything at all now. And if I click it on, I can now what do I need to do? Or is it from this one down here? Well, anyway, you can see there that when I'm turning this left-hand switch on, it's turning on and off the power to this light. Okay, so that's what that switch does. I'll stick to the switches for now. The other switch here, I've just been told by the engineer that you got lights underneath here. All right, so if you see when I turn this switch off here, it turns that one on. Now, when you need to turn that light back on, you do need to go back over to it and switch it on manually yourself. Okay, so when you turn this off, it won't come back on when you turn the switch back on. So you do have to go back over there and turn it on yourself. Right, so the other switch up there is to lower and raise the bed. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you that's working really, really well. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And it will stop, or it should stop, when you get to the top. Okay, so that is working really, really nicely. Any other aftermarket things? Just run through just briefly. This unit just here is not even plugged into anything. I was just asking about that, and the guy said that basically it's just not connected. There has been at some point, so basically there's a whacking great big solar panel up on the roof, which is obviously really, really good. This is probably the original solar controller when it had a smaller panel, is the only thing I can imagine. And then down here by the battery, which is underneath this seat here, there is a different solar controller down there, a slightly more modern one. So they've basically taken this one, completely isolated that, and then fitted a newer one down there. But of course, as you can imagine, the reason they've left this here is because it's going to leave a fairly decent hole there otherwise. So probably best just to leave it there, but basically it doesn't do anything at all. Your main control panel is this one just here on the left, which I will run you through in good detail in a minute. And you've got your heating and hot water controller over here on the right, which I'll also run through in a minute. The rest of the van, you've got some additional sockets. So that's a main socket just there. You've got a 12-volt USB socket just there as well. So there are just a few little, bits and pieces that have been added additionally around the vehicle. You've got a couple of extra sockets in the back, and some battery voltage indicators there as well. So yeah, that's about it really. You've got your air conditioning unit up on the roof here as well, which is a mains powered appliance. All right, so this will only work when the mains is plugged in, okay, and working. So just bear that in mind. But there you go. Right, so probably the easiest thing to do would be to show you through the control panel first, because that's kind of like the brain of the vehicle, if you like. So you've essentially got a main power switch over here on the bottom right hand side. So that's your green switch just there. When you turn it on, it will light up green. You've got 3 switches up the top just here, which are all to do with your lights. And you've also got this one down here on the right, which is more lights. So essentially when you want to come into the van and you want to have access to all of your lights, you can come in here, turn your power switch on, turn your 1, 2, 3 on, and this light just here. You've then got an I button, which is an information button, which essentially tells you how much voltage is in each battery and how much water is in your tank. So that is essentially just your basic information one. Now again, I will just explain that, as you can see there, it's showing you that battery 1 is at the minimum. Now this is relating to the engine battery, and the reason that it's saying that is because it's not being wired up in such a way to show you the voltage when it's not being charged. So basically when you start the engine up, you'll see that if you come back here and turn the I button on, it will literally shine right up full power, and it starts up every single time. So the engine battery, to be completely honest, the first thing we did when we saw that was we thought, oh, okay, the engine battery is a little bit flat. We went to it, took the seat off, got to the battery, tested it with our tester. It is absolutely fine, and it starts up every single time. But when we noticed that when you start the engine up, come back here and press the I button, it shows up full power straight away. So there's nothing wrong with the engine battery. It just doesn't show you a constant voltage on your information button. The leisure battery, on the other hand, will show you the proper voltage, so it's just telling you there it's up in the green. When the hookup's in and turned on and all that sort of stuff. I had got it plugged in at the moment, but I think I've got it switched off at the socket, so that's why it's not actually on. But when it is on, it will show you up here all the way to the top, full power, and that it's being charged. Your other switch here, I'll turn that one on, is your water pump. Now I'll just go double check that we've got all the taps down before I carry on and make it run on for too long. Just check in here as well. There you go, so a couple of taps on. So when I turn the water pump switch on, after checking that we've got water in the tank, which we do, water pump goes on. I can then come over to the tap and draw the water through. So just allow any air to come through. It's just chucking out a little bit of excess air. Go to the other side as well. So actually, I think if I just switch this pump off, I think if I just double check, yeah. So the boiler drain is actually open. So if I just go around to the garage here now, I'll open up this garage door. We'll see if we can find the boiler drain off point. So the access to the boiler that I was saying about, inside this cupboard. So over there on your left hand side, probably a little bit tricky to see it because it's quite dark, but there you go, you can see it a little bit better now. That there is your boiler drain off point. So that little black unit with the blue things on it, that is your boiler drain off point. Now at the moment we know that it's in the open position because the little blue dot at the bottom is poking out. So if I just isolate this to close it off, I'm going to twist that at the top and push the blue button in. So now, as you see it, that is the boiler in its closed position, and any water that I draw to it will stay inside. So no water will come out from underneath the van now. So if I now go back into the van, go back in the van now, and what I'll do is, I mean, it's a good example really, because obviously that is something that you're going to have to do every now and again. It's always handy to know where the boiler drain is, because in the winter, I mean, the reason that we've opened it up, or our habitation engineer has opened it up, is because it's so cold at the moment that really we need to winterize the van just in case it freezes. So if you don't open up that boiler drain, or, I mean, to be fair, the other thing to mention is that that is an automatic drain off point. So in the winter, it should automatically do that, which is probably what's happened. But if you're going to be leaving the van, if you're not using the van for a little while and you know it's going to get seriously cold, you have to make sure that that boiler drain is open. And when you come to filling the boiler back up, there is only one way to do it, and I'll show you how to do that now. So we first of all go to the back and close off our boiler drain, which you've just seen me do. Press our I button and just make sure that we've got a bit of water. We've got a little bit there. And then turn the water pump on. So the water pump's now on. And essentially what's happening is you can hear it running. So what's happening right now is the pump is trying to pressurize the system, but because the boiler is empty, it's not going to be able to pressurize itself just yet. So what it's going to do is it's going to pump all the water it can to the boiler, and once the boiler's full up, that pump will start to turn itself off. Now to help it along on the way, what you can do is lift up your tap over to the left hand side and onto the hot side of the tap. Okay, so it will take a couple of minutes, or about a minute or so, but eventually you'll start to get some water coming through the tap. And when it does, when it starts coming back through the tap nice and clear, that's when you can know for an absolute fact that the boiler is full of water again. So the basic sort of point of this, you know, what I'm showing you now, is that if you were to use the boiler and try to heat the water up and the boiler was empty, you're going to run into a world of problems where it's probably going to overheat. So you need to make sure that you check that the boiler is full up before you start trying to use it on the hot water. You can use the boiler on the heating when there's no water in the boiler. That's absolutely fine. That's what I've been doing for the last 20 minutes or so. But you do need to make sure that the boiler is definitely full before you start trying to heat the water up. So in order to do that, you just literally need to come to the tap and make sure the water's coming through nice and clearly, which at the moment it isn't, because the boiler is just filling itself back up still. So we'll just leave that going for a minute until it starts coming back through nice and clear, assuming that we've got enough water in the tank. But we'll get to that when it comes to it. So rest of the van, to the right of these two things here, we have got your boiler controller. So I think I can just about hear it's just about to start coming through. I'll tell you what, by the sounds of it, we might have run out of water. So it's not been a very good example, but just leave it for a second. Oh no, it might be okay. Yeah, I reckon we're just about running out of water. So we'll just see if that pump will pressurise itself. Nah, run out of water. Right, so two things to take from that, which is obviously a bad example because I didn't have quite enough water in it, but two things to take from that. When you have the pump on and the tap, you've got the tap open, it's not pressurising, but the pump is just running on and running on and running on, even with the tap off, it means one of two things. It means you're either not up to pressure, so it means that the boiler drain might be open, or it might mean that you haven't got enough water in the tank, which in my case here, that's the reason why. So as soon as I put some more water in the tank now, it's going to start working again and it will start to pressurise itself. But basically what's happening is the pump is trying to draw water from the bottom of the tank. It's just catching little bits, which is why I was coughing out of there, but not quite being able to sort of drag it all through. So when you fill the fan back up with the water, turn the pump on and leave it open on the hot side of the tap and just wait for it to start pressurising itself and coming through nice and clear. Again, as I said, this is an automatic drain off point in the back there for the boiler, so you will have to check that every now and again. If you find that you put the pump on, but then you can hear water coming out outside and it's coming out from down that back near side corner, you can be pretty certain that it's going to be coming from the boiler drain. So, sorry that it wasn't a perfect example there, but at the same time it did sort of show you a few other things that I wouldn't have normally mentioned, so there you go. Right, so the boiler controller, which is all to do with this little black unit over on the right, which says Rimor on it. So this is a very, very simple boiler controller. Now you've got heating, hot water, and fan speed. Now in this particular case, you would normally have another one just here, which would normally be your energy selector. In this particular case, your boiler only works on gas, which is why there isn't another option here. Okay, makes it easy, just means that you just literally turn your gas on and everything will work. So the other things down at the bottom, just in case you're interested, this is a timer, so you can set it up so that your boiler will come on at a certain time. The next one over is so that you can set the time on the screen. And the next one over from that is your settings. So again, you haven't got to do anything with that. Leave it as it is, but I'm just sort of explaining to you what they are. So the first one, the heating, if I turn that one on, it will then give us the option of selecting the temperature inside the van. Okay, so you literally just select your temperature, and up there in the corner, this little black thing is your thermostat for the boiler. So as soon as that there gets to the temperature that you've set, which at the moment is 20, it will then turn itself off and back on again whenever it needs to. So that's really as simple as that. The next one over, the hot water. So if I click on that one, we've got three options. We've got Eco, hot or boost. So up to you which one you want to use. It just essentially just draws a bit more power, you know, a bit more gas. If you're in a real hurry for it, put it on boost. You know, it's simple as that, really. And then the last one, the fan speed. So you've literally just got eco and high. That's it. Oh, eco, high and boost, sorry. Eco, high and boost. And they are your options for the fan speed. And I kid you not, it really is as simple as that. You've got internal temperature, hot water, fan speed. Easy peasy. If you want to turn this system completely off, press and hold on this little center button, all right, until it says off, and it will turn itself off. Right, so below that we have got your fridge. So this fridge is another one which is really, really, really simple. So this is what you call an AES fridge as well. So this is an automatic energy selecting fridge. So basically what that means is that you've got the little A light here. So the A is essentially giving the fridge the option to select the energy for you. So you've got, if I just explain to you what you've got gas, which is what we've got just there. So you've got gas, you've got 12 volt, and you've got mains. So these are the three options that you've got in order to cool the fridge down. So at the moment, the one that we need to use, because we haven't got the engine running, we haven't got the hookup plugged in, but we do have the gas on, we've got to use it on gas. Okay, so you can select gas manually like I've just done there, really, really simple, and then it will just basically turn itself off, and it's, you know, it's still on. As long as you've got a little blue light inside this little power switch, the fridge is on and working. Okay, so if you want to leave it on automatic, you can, but I would recommend doing it manually personally. Only reason I say that is because sometimes these fridges can get a little bit confused and think that it's working when it's not, if that makes sense. Sometimes if you, so for example, you know, I noticed just then that actually when I had it on the auto, it had itself on 12 volt, which was probably working, but you shouldn't ever use it on the 12 volt unless the engine's running. So it's those little things that, you know, because it's got the automatic function, yes, that's great, but, you know, the fridge doesn't know these things that I'm telling you. So sometimes it is better just to use it manually, which is what I tend to do. But basically, you can just see what you got there. If you press and hold the button here, you will then have the option of selecting through the different options. For the moment, I need to use it on gas, so I press that one. And then you'll be given the option of the actual temperature of the fridge. So you can go through and adjust that accordingly. But there you go. So you have got the freezer compartment down below as well, and the main fridge section there. So I'm going to leave that on just for a minute. So down low, we have got your Thetford oven. So it is just an oven, I think. Yeah, just an oven. I'm not going to be able to turn this on because I need two hands. So you've got a spark button over here on the bottom and your gas valve on the right. So you need to press both of those at the same time, basically. But obviously I can't do that because I've only got one hand free. Down below here, so you've got this little button up here which will release all of the drawers. Okay, so unless you press that button and it pops out, you won't be able to open up any of the drawers. You've got loads of paperwork down here for all of the appliances inside the van. And make sure that you put your travel lock back on before you start driving. Your 3-burner hob comes on again with your spark, like so. A bit awkward with one hand. Okay. I very rarely explain anything further than that on the hobs because they are literally just well, you can see what it is. It's just a 3-burner hob. It's very, very easy. Not much to explain really on that. So, the toilet room. So you've essentially just got your Thetford toilet cassette and a hot and cold tap over there on the left. So the Thetford toilet cassette, super easy to use. So you've got a blue button on the left hand side. Press that button just there and it'll pump around the flush fluid into the bowl. From there, obviously use the toilet, and then when you want to drain it out into the cassette, you push this little handle to the right. That drains everything from inside the bowl there into the cassette, and then pull this back. And that's it. That is honestly all you need to do to use the toilet. Very, very simple. Behind us, we have got your shower compartment. So the door will close all the way over. And then you've got a switch just here for the lights inside the shower compartment. Again, I very rarely explain much to do with this as well, because it's literally a hot and cold tap from there and shower head. So, you know, there's not really much for me to explain. I will just explain that this little lip down here is more than likely there because the wheel is there. So that'll be your wheel arch that is sort of covering up. So there's not much you can do about that. But yeah, still a decent shower size. Actually, very decent. So you should be okay with that. So obviously we have got the really nice big island bed. Now this mattress here is, well, because they're made for the motorhomes, they are unbelievably expensive. So this is something that will probably be with the van forever, and I wouldn't recommend changing it. I know you might want to clean it and all that sort of stuff. We obviously have cleaned it, but these are unbelievably expensive because they're sort of handmade and made to fit the motorhomes specifically. They are very expensive, so just bear that in mind. But yeah, so I think that is about it, to be honest. I don't think there's much else for me to explain. There's nothing back here that is particularly difficult to sort of grasp. I mean, it's there's no sort of like additional controls that I need to run you through, I don't think. But yeah, you can get, if you lift this up, you've got a little bit of storage underneath here. So if I just lift this out of the way, you've got some storage under there. But otherwise, I think that's about it, really. So if there is anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.